Welcome back, y'all. This is another installment of Table Manners. My name is Khalil Green, and as usual, all is welcome at our table. Just watch your motherfucking elbows. Today's topic, there you go, horse playing and shit. Today's topic is our own worst enemy. And so, what do I mean by that? As you all know, this is a community that we recognize that we are all black, but we have different identities, different cultures, different experiences that come to this table, and in recognizing that we represent a larger community of black people that have different experiences, different identities at the larger table. And so what I have noticed in my own lived experience is that when we are portrayed in certain spaces, particularly in the media, that oftentimes there are certain stereotypes within the various identities of who we are, whether that be cis or heterosexual people, or people who are in the LGBTQ A community. There seems to be a very strict way that all of us are portrayed, and we recognize that being portrayed in a certain way, especially in the public space, is very key, is very vital, because for most people that's the first introduction that they have to a particular people. And so I wanted to discuss this with my fellow co-hosts because, again, we represent a collective of black folks from various different experiences, and I wanted to dialogue with them about this experiences and how they feel about it, as well as how it informed their experiences. So without further delay, here we go.
Alright, so I want to start off by going off, what I've noticed in the media, specifically off the show that I'm really into, Pose. With me identifying as non-binary, in this particular show, what I was looking forward to seeing was more representation of the community as a whole. But the show based itself more primarily on, trans women in a time where, drugs and HIV and everything was very prevalent. While I understand the platform, I just feel like there was more to it, and there should be more included to incorporate everybody. The story of everybody in the community is extreme and important. So for that show to come out, it was actually kind of disappointing. Like, I want to say the only thing that I've seen in media that would represent anything as far as something non-binary was the show Euphoria that they only came out with for a season. A really, really, really good show. What's the girl? Zendaya. Zendaya was the non-binary person in this particular situation who was dating a non-binary human, and this non-binary human presented feminine. So this was the first time I've actually gotten to see this in a platform, and this show in particular got a bunch of mixed reviews. Nobody understood it. So when we were talking earlier, we were talking about like how when we're presented in the media, as far as lesbian, gay, anything, for a lesbian couple, it's one masculine, one feminine. For, males, they're overtly feminine for no reason. And in situations, it's one butch, one feminine. It's very still binary. And it still doesn't show who we are as a people. But even in that, when you see it in the media, people are like, oh, they're pushing the gay agenda on us. And it's like, are they pushing it on us, or are they showing you that we're actually there? And that we exist, and that while you don't see it every day, this is something that we deal with on a regular basis. And we're still underrepresented. So that's just my views on it.
I love the point that you made about people not understanding the show Euphoria. And it just goes to show how there's a huge lack of understanding of non-binary people, of trans folks within the larger society. And then the people who end up writing these shows are not representative of the experience. And so then there's this it's not genuine. It's just like, let me just put this out there. But yeah.
Anybody else?
Does everybody know what? Because I don't think I have a clear understanding of non-binary. Like, can we get a working definition that everyone agrees on, just so I can maybe have something to contribute to the conversation?
So I just had this argument on social media with the trans woman, which confused me because she's a trans woman. The question was, how can non-binary people consider themselves non-binary while transitioning? I transitioned to male form to represent the fact that I want my body to present duality. Now, non-binary normally represents androgyny, third gender, two-spirited, but traditionally, both genders. A gender, to my knowledge of the definition, is the definition that does not acknowledge gender at all. A lot of people have confusion with that. It changes on a regular basis. I lie to you not. I read this stuff every 6 months just to make sure I'm up to date with it. I hate boxes, but unfortunately that's the world we live in right now. So non-binary in that sense is the fact that you would technically be considered third gender.
Okay.
To levels. More
Yeah.
feminine, more masculine. It's a spectrum.
Yes, because I identify as non-binary femme because I typically present more feminine, but like I don't agree with gender as like a concept. Like I don't fuck with it. Like whatever, I am who I am. I do what I do. I move how I move. But the thing about non-binary, I think, is the meaning again is so vast. It can mean so many things for so many different people, and so it's just like, if it fits for them, it fits for them. So I feel like it's hard to give you a clear definition. But
I think that's important though, because if the community itself doesn't have a clear definition, then it's really hard to expect for people not in the community to understand and to be able to write those shows. Not to say that they're supposed to be writing on
Exactly.
behalf.
They shouldn't be
but,
writing those shows.
And I would agree with you on that. But I
sure.
think it's almost impossible to have someone outside of the community get it if there's not even a collective definition or understanding within, right? I'm not saying that. I'm asking.
No,
that's a real thing.
I feel like I get what you're saying, but why does it have to be a very clear definition? That's the thing for me, and I think people it goes back to this labels conversation. People want so much to put something neatly into a box, but the thing about non-binary folks, we don't fit neatly in no box. So we gonna do what we do, and if that makes you uncomfortable, that's a you thing. That's not a us thing. I'm not saying that's how you're feeling. I'm sorry. I'm not coming for you.
And I agree with you. I don't think that there should be like these boxes that we have to check, but I think if a group is looking for understanding and inside of the group there's not an understanding, it's like, well, what are you looking for from us? If I guess that's more so what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Not that it has to be a box that people have to check.
But the thing is, I don't even feel like people right now are looking for understanding. Even with this post that I've had with this particular person, it was a very argumentative situation. It was like, we should not exist because it doesn't make sense. Her argument was like, us diverting from a gender is still a gender, so it's still binary. Like it was an entire thing. So it was something that was drawn out for a long period of time, but it was to the point where she was argumentative about it. And it was like, of all people who don't understand, of all people who I would have an argument with, you would think she would understand more, considering how hard it is for somebody outside of us to accept us for who we are.
I think when people start to argue, I think from what I've noticed, I don't think that they're a lot of times arguing for the sake of arguing. I think they feel like they're being challenged, like, hey, I didn't mean to offend you. Now I have to argue why I didn't mean to be offensive. That's what I feel like I noticed. No, that's not what I meant. Or, that's what I feel like people say a lot when those conversations come up. But no, I feel like I need to, learn more about it too. I've read a few things, but it seems to always change. And when I think I know something,
That's
or
what
think
I'm
I
saying.
have
It
an
changes
understanding.
constantly. You have to constantly review it.
So I know for me personally, I tend to just be quiet because I really don't know what to say or how it goes or.
I think what we can do is kind of give the advice to say, just be open. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking to other communities, just be open that this person is not speaking on behalf of all non-binary people and everybody's experiences are different. So just as you're going to be open as a straight person, everybody straight don't have the same experience. It's going to be the same thing with non-binary. And so just being open to the different stories and the different dialects to it, and don't try to put it in a box. I think if we can message that, then I think we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
To add on to Fuller's point, we're asking a society that has learned to box people in, to unlearn that. And that within itself is a challenge. Even, I think, indirectly, like the movie Divergent was attempting to show the idea that not looking at an individual as one thing and being accepting of them having multiple identities or multiple gifts or multiple just parts of who they are. And so for a lot of people who were comfortable with saying, well, it's this, it's very uncomfortable. Now, it's not saying that that's not, they shouldn't make a change, but the process of unlearning that, I'm sure, especially for older generations, I'm sure that's very, 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 very challenging. I think as everybody here is millennials. It's a challenge for us. You know, I think the Gen Zers are probably doing a better job.
Hell yeah. Like, I think one of the most beautiful things it is to see when I'm scrolling down my timeline, these, you know, kids going to prom with their little booze, and I'm like, I don't know who's identifying as what, but the shit look lit to me. I just wish it was like that, you know, when I was younger. So I think they're doing a pretty good job, and hopefully the generation after them does an even better job.
Yeah, I think each generation gets the generation to a certain point, and then they take the lead, you know, and it keeps on progressing. I actually wanted to, if I may, I wanted to segue into a question regarding the representation. When was the first time you saw someone close to yourself in the media?
In the media?
In the media. You know what? I'll say the media, and then also in public.
Janelle Monáe for me.
That is not the first time.
Yes, it is. How you gonna tell me?
Let her speak her truth. Let her speak her truth.
Okay, so you tell me. Key and I know each other for a very long time. So you tell me.
I don't know. Your
When was the
story, I
first
just know that
time?
couldn't have been the first time.
It is. That is the
I'm
first time I
sure.
saw somebody like me.
Not even in high school.
Not I went to an all-white school. What?
You went to an all-white school?
Yes,
Oh,
as
shit.
ratchet as I can be. Yes, I went to an all-white school. Predominantly white, I should say. Predominantly white.
All right,
But
cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish. I like that.
Okay.
Don't Kanye her like that.
Right.
I don't know that I've ever seen. I would have to really think about it. I don't know if I've ever seen someone like, you know, that I really super closely identify with. I don't think I have.
I guess it's your turn, Tommy.
Oh, if we going in order, it's a no for me, dog. Like,
I can see that.
I have not ever in my life seen a non-binary, black, queer, fat, femme, natural hair representing me in any kind of way, shape, or form. So that's discouraging.
Aw.
But yeah.
When I was in elementary school, I wanted to be like the brat. I felt like she.
Hey.
I mean,
So
That's a
I
good
would get
one.
my hair done like the brat, but then my mom still made me wear a dress. Nevertheless, and then set it off. Queen Latifah. I feel
Yeah.
like when I
Queen
had
Latifah's
COVID, I
fine.
said I'm not gonna die from COVID. I'm gonna go out like Queen Latifah, and I never let her go.
I never had a female role model. All my role models were male. I've never seen me in media. The first time I've seen a trans male was actually one of my close friends on social media during their transition. So that was the first time I actually learned about transitioning as a whole. But I looked up to people like Prince and Lenny Kravitz and Jimi Hendrix. Like, their style was basically my childhood everything. So,
Yeah.
I think I would like to amend mine. I think when I think when Frank Ocean came out,
Okay.
I think I was like, oh wow, like he's ingrained in hip hop. He's a little emo. Like I was like, I think I kind of like that. I gravitated towards it, and I liked how he kind of made a statement on Tumblr, and I love that he used Tumblr. Like he didn't have like a publicist. He just made like a little post. I think that's the first time I might have seen myself in somebody, because his whole experience, like coming out to the world, I really identify with that.
And I think that's a challenging thing that all these people still, took forever to come out though.
Yeah.
Right.
Queen Latifah took forever.
She
We
came out.
We knew.
She officially came out?
I mean, she be walking around.
You
with
just-
the lady
did you
that
just-
has
So what I
a
think she
whole hand.
officially
I was
came
about to
out.
What
say,
I
that's
respect
like a
about
statement.
Queen Latifah is that she just show up,
Right.
and that's what it is.
Right.
The
You
brat
make your
came
own
out.
assumptions.
The thing that
Brat came out.
The brat
The
came
brat
out.
actually
Yeah,
came
the brat
out.
just
I
came out.
like the thought that you don't have to say something and people can make their own assumptions, but I really feel like I wish people like, I don't want, Queen Latifah or, Brat and Missy, I wish they would have said something, because I
Right.
think people looking up to them, it would make them feel like,
Yeah.
hey, I can do this too. Or if this person can make these types of movies and make this music and
Make
be
this type of
successful.
money, yes.
I think what it shows kids sometimes is, okay, you know what it is, but don't say anything.
Right.
And now that's what I
Yeah,
I feel you.
That's
That's
always what it
That's
been.
it.
It was even like that with Luther. Like, you can.
Baby, Luther
grandparents
died.
love
Luther died not telling his sexuality.
No, he not. He never said that. You ain't got no proof. Like,
And you want to know the craziest thing? I was watching. I think it was Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen is so messy. They had you know Patti LaBelle's getting older in age, and he tripped her up, and he said something about Luther being gay, and he was like, yeah, blah blah blah, and she was just like, yeah. She basically just kind of outed, and I was watching on the screen like.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. The reason why I said that, to your point, the age piece, and then also the brother's an ancestor now, so that's another thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But then the back part about it is like,
yeah,
a dead man can't speak on his
what he was doing.
Right.
Whitney Houston, they did the same thing with it. She never said anything, and then
They tried to claim it,
she
yeah.
passed away, and then Robin Crawford came out and basically said, this was what it was, and
Right.
I just wish that people, especially at their stature, like Whitney Houston was the shit.
time, bro.
And it's I understand, but after a certain point, she
Yeah.
passed away in 2011.
What you got to lose?
What do you have to lose? You've done everything. You're the most awarded person. Can't nobody take that away from you. So I think it makes people looking up to them just say, okay, am I supposed to not say anything either? Am I supposed to
Right.
repress this too?
I agree with you wholeheartedly because I didn't come out until like later in my 20s, and it's because I didn't have that representation. It wasn't until later, even though I haven't had a clear representation of me. I had people who I'm like, the Queen Latifahs, the Janelle Monáes, but that came later in life.
Yeah.
And so
Much
now,
later.
that's why I love being non-binary, because I get to take pieces of all these things and make it like who I am, like add it to who I am. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, bruh.
I guess I will run anchor on this as far as who I saw myself as. I think from the day one, Tupac was definitely first and foremost. He spoke to the thought process, the heart, the intention, the type of man that I wanted to be in this world. Not from an emotional standpoint as far as some of his actions, but as far as the love and sense for the community. Definitely Pac. And then after him, I would say Pimp C.
Pimp C.
Being from Texas.
Oh yeah.
Being from Texas, he's the heart and soul of, I truly believe, of Southern hip hop. The time he was here. After them, I would have to say Andre 3000.
That's a good one.
I definitely saw myself in him. Common would be another figure. Mos Def, Talib Kweli. So it was always a way of like brothers who recognized their Afrocentricity in the space, and was definitely big about communal values. And then I would have to say just the general sensibilities of like the Black Panthers. That's basically been the backdrop of my identity, and so I've been fortunate enough to see a collection of men.
I was gonna say,
Obviously,
look how many
I've been-
names you
Yeah,
drop
yeah,
versus
yeah.
all of us.
But
That's real. But that's real.
It is a privilege, but what I will say, it took me a time to string them all together.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
took me a time, because even coming from, I tell people all the time, they always ask me, I was like, well, do you want to go back to Texas? And I tell them, I was like, I love my state and always will, but there's a part of me that will still tell you probably no. And the reason why is because my experience growing up as a Black man that was raised to be intellectual, it was not popular. It was not popular. Now I recognize times have changed, but like growing up in Dallas in that time, it felt very restrictive. And so I didn't really become comfortable with being the man who I wanted to be until I got to DC, and I started going to Howard, because the stigma was like, it's cool to get good grades, but it's not cool to be smart, outwardly, to really speak a certain way. And there was only certain moments where it was respected. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I felt that stigma, and I wanted to get away with it. Not get away with it, but get away from that feeling. So it definitely took some time. It definitely took some time to formulate. And to the whole identity piece, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like we were talking about it offline. The show, I feel like Dear White People has done such an excellent job of showcasing just not just different Black people, but just different people in general, and how we're all connected.
Yeah, yeah. I love how different they are on that show, but how they seem to have a collective understanding that this is what it is. And not to say that it has to be like us, versus them, but a lot of times in spaces like that, it kind of can be. Like they are separate, they are super different, they understand the differences, but when it's time to come together, it's just like, all right, we gotta link up and
even
make
the white
some shit
folks.
happen. Yeah.
Even the white folks. It's a great piece of art, in my opinion.
So I guess it all depends on who's working on these shows. Like, everybody has to put themselves in a position to be represented. It's sad that we have to, but we have to put ourselves in a position to be represented the right
We
way.
gotta start doing our own work.
But also, I think that for a show like Dear White People, I think that we were hungry for that. We were wanting that, and I think sometimes execs and companies like Netflix, Hulu, I think they look at it and say, okay, well, who if I do a story on this, who's gonna watch it, or who is my target?
It comes to the
audience?
bottom line.
It comes to the
We
bottom
live in a
line.
capitalistic
We
society.
live in a capital. Whereas I'm as someone who enjoys content, like we were talking about, I mean, I kind of like seeing things that differ from me. I don't mind watching something that maybe I don't understand, so that I can get a better understanding. I don't understand why companies don't factor that into, but
Because they don't give a fuck.
They don't give a
It's about
fuck.
the money. And
Yeah.
when we're talking about representation, Black people are represented, but it's always in a certain type of way. It's always embedded in respectability politics. It's always embedded in the idea that, okay, they're ratchet, they're ghetto, so let me make them be this kind of person. Like Tyler Perry, he always
oh my god,
always making us look crazy. He always making us look crazy.
Not only is he always making us look crazy, but he's always making us look crazy and spreading it to the mass. Like he's so popular, and I still don't know who's buying it. Like
That's the question.
My grandmother. Every last one of them.
and my grandmother is one of them too. But I'm like, I don't know like the statistics. Are there that many old people? Like who's really watching it?
People
That's
like
what I'm
A lot of
saying.
church people.
But he's on.
That's heavy in the
people.
church folk.
Like we used to have movie days in my job where you can bring in movies and like for every
bringing the
classroom.
Tyler Perry.
If you bring in another goddamn Tyler Perry movie, I'm gonna throw him out the classroom. I'm not playing with y'all. We got other movies in the world.
Yeah.
It's the
But that's why
craziest
when we
thing.
talk about representation, it's not enough just to do these
All black.
these typical stories about Black people. It needs to be more diverse and more representative, because we are more than just yelling at people out the window and having all these fucking problems. Like, no, some of us don't have those experiences that are being shown, and it just shows, it perpetuates the idea that this is the only type of story that Black people have, and that we're always going to be at the bottom. And he don't even recognize the poison, in my opinion, that he's putting in society for people to digest and to spread. Like,
Oh,
bruh.
he knows. He thinks that's hilarious. He knows exactly what he's
I
doing.
think he
I
thinks
think
it's
he-
his avenue. That he knows that nobody's in that market, and so he's
Yeah.
figured out a way to be profitable.
Yeah.
And what it does to the community, I think he's like,
I think I think he's going through something. Like I think he's healing or something, or trying to heal, because I don't think that he knows that it's problematic. I know he hears it. I know people are always tweeting it to him, but I really think that, because when I look at Tyler Perry, it seems like he may need to, do some.
well, he's been through a lot. His
Yeah,
bio,
he's been through
a
a
lot.
lot, but no, it's always that double-edged sword, because as much as I can critique Tyler Perry's work, I love that he kept people like Cicely Tyson
Yep.
working.
Yeah.
I love
Amen.
that. I love how he's always employing, videographers and
Black
audio technicians.
Yeah.
Like that, I can't hate on that.
Yeah.
And he does it on a mass scale.
Right.
But
Right.
it's just like, but look at the art that we're getting
He
as
was
a
the
result
reason
of it.
Journey Smollett popped back up. When the last time you seen Journey Smollett? Like,
Yeah.
And not just Journey, but I love how he always brings in the older, forgotten about people. Like the guy from the Cosby Show, the one that was they took a picture of him working in the
At-
supermarket
at Trader Joe's.
at
Yeah.
Trader Joe's, and it's just like, okay, don't nobody give a fuck that I'm still a working actor. Tyler Perry said, nope. Boom.
Yeah.
I got a job for you, and I do respect that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
it's like when I'm watching his his television shows and when I'm watching his movies, I'm just like,
Especially where he's at right now. In the beginning, I'm like, okay, you trying to get your way in the door, but where you are right now, the power and the
change
privilege
it.
that you have,
Yeah.
let's change that narrative. Let's do a little bit more. Let's, open it up some. That's all I'm saying. But I do agree wholeheartedly. He has put people on, and he has
so
kept
many
people
people
on.
kept them
I
on.
want him to put me on so I can help him out.
Yeah, I watched
Tyler Perry movies.
He is like, you're talking about me. You're talking about me.
That's my point.
No, I was waiting for you. I mean, I wasn't going to interrupt. You know, table manners. So I like to laugh. My son liked to laugh. We laugh together. Nevertheless, I do see y'all saying that it can be like, you know, a negative representation. But what he is, like you said, Tommy Wiz, right now, he can do whatever. And I just hope that he understands that and allows that to let himself grow and open up doors for everybody.
Exactly.
And he has the beautiful studio. So when
Yeah,
I hear
that's
him
what I'm
bragging about, I shot a movie in a week, that's not something to brag about. It was terrible. The wigs were terrible. The eyebrows were terrible.
The wigs
That's
are
another
mean.
thing. I heard
The
he
wigs
doesn't
are
let
mean.
anybody else write for him. So that's what I mean. Like he has this big production too. Like open the doors now. Like you have the money. You got my money because like I said, I watch the movies. You got my money, so open the doors.
Yeah, he could be on his Beyonce right now. You know, Beyonce was really serving for the white folks in the beginning.
Yeah, and then she got into a
recently
place.
came into her. I don't want to say came into her blackness, but she recently gave into her no fucks given.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and I want him to get there.
I don't disagree with you all. I think the only question I have is that when you get to a certain space in a particular certain way, catering to a particular demographic, the only question is that when you decide to change that, the anxiety and the fear about if this doesn't work, how am I going to be able to sustain?
And the politics. 'Cause
And the
I was
politics,
gonna say,
too.
let's be clear, because I want to bring up the Shy. Like, I love Lena, but you are a lesbian, and you ain't really representing the lesbians well in the show. So we have representation, right? We're asking for representation, but it's still the politics. You still have to answer to someone, even though you can sit here and write this shit all day. Somebody's gonna be like, well, I wanted to be a little more like this. So you know what I mean? And so, where are we with that?
I
Like,
get
how
that.
can we move forward? We got to get into the bigger spaces. We forget, like, you could direct all day, but there's still people in front of you that you still have to answer to, and those are the ones who dictate what we see.
But I feel like we've gotten to a moment in society where we have so many black producers, we have so many black this, black that we don't have to adhere to these, I think, heteronormative and white cis ways of being. But people, I understand it's a fear, it's a worry, but like at the end of the day, life is too short to just keep doing this
same
fuck
shit.
shit.
The same
The
thing.
same
And
shit.
we're
That's fair.
honestly, if climate change don't kill us in the next 6 years,
Okay.
And
you
COVID
better live
and-
your fucking life.
You better
Right.
live
You're
your
right.
life,
You're
yeah.
right.
But
Right.
to piggyback on what you were saying about Tyler Perry, I don't feel like he has to do this complete 180. He has the power to, people who enjoy Tyler Perry movies, he can still make a movie and a show for them and do something else.
You're right.
Because
Right.
he has like 6 shows.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, why not try something else? Why not, okay, maybe you want to write for 80% of your work. Maybe you'll hire writers for the other 20% of the shows and stuff you have on. So I don't understand that. It's I understand not wanting to shy away from what puts you on and your target audience, but you have so much power and you have so much content that you're putting out. You mean to tell me you can't put out one show? Have you ever seen
Now, I
some
will
of
say it is one show that he did put out, but I don't know what it's called because I don't watch TV enough. But I saw like the preview and it was something different than what he was doing. So that it was one, but he can definitely, I agree, he can definitely do more for the like one.
I want to make sure we all talk about like our final thoughts of like how we feel our identity is represented or misrepresented, and make sure we get that all out on the table as each person, because I know I had an incident with my group. I work for some seniors. I won't say who I work for, but I had an incident where we did an intergenerational group. And what happened was one of the older seniors, and we talk about that intergenerational gap and, different things have changed over the time and not everybody wants to jump on board. And he brought up bisexuality. And I was like, oh, Lord, I know it's about to go left. So the whole time they're talking about preferences, they're talking about everything. And so like one of my seniors is like, yeah, I don't want that fluidity shit. I like my man 100% gay. 100% gay. Then I got a lesbian in the group that's like, yeah, I don't want a man who's still getting dick. I don't want that. And this is legit seniors. We really talking about 60 plus. And I'm like, okay. So I'm in a space where I don't never let somebody's experiences, preferences dictate what the fuck I do. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't take it personal. Unfortunately, we had some younger folks, Gen Z, that was like, oh hell no, you know what I mean? They ready to ride out because they don't play that shit. Millennials, we kind of be like, we know you old, it's okay. Like we gonna let you rock. Like you my grandparent, we know you got your thoughts with you.
Yeah.
So then he took it all the way left and said that bisexuality was a choice. And the faces that it was like half the room was like, and then the other half of the room was like, did you just say that? And so multiple people felt some type of way, and when they tried to express it to him, it became like an argument. And he was like, it's a choice. You know, you could pick a side, and like you're trying to use preference as identity, and you're swapping the two and all of that. And I was like, whoa. As a moderator, I was like, let's be clear. There is a B in LGBTQ. So be careful how you talk about bisexuality, and you can have a preference all day, but like let's be respectful of the B, because that is an identity. And telling somebody that they have to choose, you're putting them back in that box, and you are part of LGBTQ. We can't get it together in our own room. Like, what you mean? And he couldn't hear it, and I wasn't ready to go into it because I'm like, your experiences, and he made it very clear. He picked his profession over his sexuality. So of course you're coming from a trauma lens. You're coming from a lens that you can't even understand. Right? So I was like, you got it. But yeah, that is something that I hold as in the B. And you know, y'all know I really don't get down with labels, but if you want to label me, that's what you got. But I just was like, yeah, it's this thing within the LGBT community is like, you should choose, like you should lean more away. Well, that would make me a motherfucking lesbian, wouldn't it? And I'm gonna stay with the B, and you're not gonna force me to pick a side. I do what the fuck I want. Right. And you're not gonna label it as being a hoe. You can't make up your mind. You don't know, you're lost, you're confused. Like, no, I'm attracted to a being. If your energy is popping, then I want to know more. And if whatever that comes into is whatever it comes into. And so that is, to me, my biggest fight with us as a group, as LGBTQ, and then also on the outside, because I gotta fight y'all in here and I gotta fight y'all out in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I see the misrepresentation all the time. And that even comes out in movies and different things, like the bisexual person is a hoe, or she's all over the place and she can't get it together, and she's confused, or he's confused, or whatever the case may be. And I just want to see that move better, because we in 2021. Like, get it together.
Oh, y'all looking towards me.
Final thoughts.
Okay, final
thoughts.
thoughts. I'm not sure how to answer that, only because I do feel like in the last 5 years I've seen a lot more, different types of gay black men. And I don't know. I don't really know what people are looking for. I think people can critique all day, but I don't know what people are expecting to see. It's a movie or it's a television show. Sometimes I feel like, it's supposed to be a little bit exaggerated. It's supposed to be what this person, thinks it is. That's their art. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't know what else people are looking for at this point, because I feel like I've seen a decent bit of variety, so I don't know if people are just looking for it more. What I will say is I do hate to see people say, it's being thrust on children, it's being thrust into our communities, whereas I feel like, no, like someone said earlier, no, we do exist. So that, I guess that would be my final thought. People just being more accepting to the new representations that we do have, because even when it pertains to stuff like Sesame Street, I think that was in the news some years back, and it's just like, why are we pushing this on our kids? And I'm like, so what about the little kids that feel like they're gay, or feel like are they not supposed to see themselves
until they're 18?
In cartoon? Yeah, exactly. So that would be my final thought. Not necessarily hey, I want to have 10 more shows that have gay niggas in them. I just want to see like the community embrace the ones that we have.
Exactly.
And then maybe by default, those characters will become more nuanced and more developed, when people feel comfortable and can receive them.
Yeah. Love that. Okay, y'all really bringing in the deep final thoughts. So one I want to say is nothing wrong with being a hoe. I was gonna
that shit.
rep for my hoes.
Pro hoe.
Ain't nothing wrong, but don't label it immediately. Let everybody label themselves.
Shout out to Jasmine Sullivan. Hotels.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I loved everybody.
But for me, representation on a larger scale, yes, I would love to see. But for me, it's more representation on a person to person scale in your communities. That's what I want to see. I want to go on Instagram, and when I go to my Explorer page, they pop up with people that look like me because they, you know the internets and the cookies and all that shit. So like, that's what I want to see. I want to see it more on a community level, an everyday level in my neighborhood, because at the end of the day, I'm so far removed from these shows and the people up there that it don't matter to me, because I'm building and learning who I am from my community, and from the people and from myself and my own experiences. So for me, I don't need that large scale, but I do need more deeply embedded and intentional community representation. Kia, go ahead.
For me, as the lesbian in the group, I feel like obviously, lesbians are just sexualized a lot.
Facts.
And that is something that I would like to change. A lot of our connections aren't built from just sex. Is like Kirsten said, just getting to know somebody's spirit. So it's not just because lesbian sex is some of the best sex you ever have in your life. It's because we have some of the best relationships and connections. So that should be represented. And then, like I said before, it's all about us just being who we are when we in the community. Like Tommy said, because like me being the stud, per se.
Stud muffin. Say it
the
right.
stud muffin. Yeah, the stud muffin. But being pregnant, I get tired of explaining myself sometimes, but I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to have another one. Because I guess we just have to represent ourselves. And then one day, everybody else will catch up.
They will.
I completely agree. It basically starts with ourselves. Once we start being more comfortable with who we are as a person, then it can start to spread from there. Like, I don't want to keep having to deal with, like, it was this one time somebody had reposted my profile picture. I don't know if you remember that, but I had a profile picture. I have a mustache and I had on a bra and my boxers.
Yeah.
And somebody reposted it with the caption, "What is it?"
Oh, yeah, already.
So when I say my notifications went off because everybody and their mother notified me about this, it got reposted, like it was a whole thing. So it's more of a situation where after that, it was one of those situations where I could have shut down, I could have got upset. I made an OnlyFans. I turned it into a thing. Like
You
I
better.
I got excited. So it's once you get comfortable with yourself and learn yourself, nothing else matters. Nothing should bother you because it has nothing to do with you. And once we can get to that point, it'll be easier to be able to represent ourselves. Like I said, I'm very comfortable. You will see me today. I look just like a man. You can see me when it's warm. I will have on a skirt with a lacy bra and some Doc Martens and a fitted. It's whatever. I don't care. I will wear lipstick with a full-on suit. I don't care. It's not about you. It's about how I feel about myself.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
Well, the final thought I'd like to share is that I think the biggest thing is that I do recognize that as men, we definitely have contributed to the misrepresentation of a lot of people's identities, because we've controlled a lot of the platforms in which they've existed. I think the biggest thing is that, particularly in the black community, is that as much as there are negative men in our community who have weaponized their identity in the spaces, the other brothers who haven't. And I think that's been the biggest misrepresentation that I've experienced, to be automatically judged for what unfortunately some of my brothers have done, in a very heinous way. I think we have to recognize that there's a spectrum of all of us in the space, and I think the better that we become more discerning of that, the better that we can build spaces of community and platforms in which all of us get seen adequately. And with that being said, this is the last part of Table Manners, but I also like to tell you all our Instagram. It is @_Table Manners podcast. Also, I would like to give the time for all of us to provide our individual IGs as well. Mine is @TS Griot but yeah, I'll go to the next.
I'm Cha. Mine is @MarcusGram, MA3RCUS Graham at IG. You can follow me at your own leisure, because like I said, I have an OnlyFans. So yeah.
I wish I had OnlyFans.
It's productive. Yeah.
This kid, mine is K1120. The E is with a 3, so KLOV3R20.
Hi, it's Tommy. Follow me on Instagram @honeycharcoal. If you don't know how to spell that, look it up.
This is Lou, and my Instagram is King Louis, the number 8th.
I'm glad y'all all know yours because I grabbed my phone. I'm cursing and I had to grab it, honey. And my IG is lady, regular lady _ KAY27.
All right, now this is an installment of Table Manners. Y'all have a good one. Always welcome at the table. But watch your motherfucking elbows.
Hey.
All right.
Jesus.
Okay.
I seen some